Hello and welcome to the latest Business of the Business podcast. I'm your co-host, JP John Poz from the Two-Man Power Trip. Of course, joining me, the doctor himself, Mr. Lavie Margolin. Lavie, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, John, they say it's not about the goals, but it's about the journey. And one of the fun things is meeting the awesome people along the way, including our friend from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Dominic DeAngelo. Dominic, how you doing?
Lavie, it's good to be here again, man. The first time I get to speak with you when you're officially a doctor, so this is a pleasure. It's very nice. And Poz, good to see you again too, man.
Yes, you too. Yes. So Studio One, right? You got the Studio1Sports, you got Brass Ring, you got RVD, you got a lot of stuff going on right now.
A lot of stuff cooking, yeah. So, Studio1Sports, I relaunched that. So I'm actually Zach Haydorn is no longer with Studio1Sports, or Brett. He does his own thing with Brass Ring, so we're separate entities now. So, but yes, I still do Studio1Sports. I still do One of a Kind with Rob Van Dam. Every Monday we go with the new episode just premiered actually tonight, and then I do work with Briscoe and Bradshaw. I do their YouTube content. I'm the Click This social media man with Kevin Nash and stuff. Something else I do too. I do a whole lot of stuff. Rumor Nintendo with Robert Karpolis every Monday through Friday for ad-free shows and podcast feeds. So that's the daily wrestling news show. So that keeps me on the cusp of ever-changing information here in the wrestling world, as you guys know.
Yes, you got a lot going on though. Are you too busy? You think you guys? That's a lot.
It can be. It's a little overwhelming sometimes. I really am not one to write things down, so it's just like I need to get better at doing that. And usually I'm flying on the cusp of everything. I'm like by the seat of my pants or whatever cliche you want to use. I'm basically doing it. So.
And your brother was just on Raw. What's he doing? What does he think he can beat up Braun Breaker? What is he doing out there?
Well, at least protect people a little bit from Braun Breaker. So he got into the wrestling aspect of things, the actual wrestling aspect of things, probably about a year and a half ago at this point, and he caught on extremely quickly. His first match, was for IWC International Wrestling Cartel. Tommy Dreamer happened to be backstage for that. He was the special attraction for that one. Marcus asked if he could watch his match for him, and Tommy Dreamer obliged. And when Marcus got done, Tommy told him that it's looked like he's been wrestling for like 5 years already. And after his first match, wow. And he was like, and so he did have a few criticism for him, a little constructive criticism stuff, but overall, like, Marcus wrestles a very old school kind of like he works for Arn Anderson, but he kind of wrestles in that kind of realm of things. So he doesn't do a lot of high flying stuff. So he's got that very kind of old school mindset, and it's really caught on. And he's a natural asshole. I'm sorry if I. No,
yes.
He's a natural asshole, so it fits his personality very well right now. So,
yeah.
But yes, he's taken advantage of a lot of good opportunities. He's a real go-getter, and he too has a lot of spinning plates that he handles. So I was very, very proud to see him on there. He certainly well earned it, and it's crazy to think too, because me and him growing up watching wrestling and him kind of doing a lot of this stuff that we envisioned as kids. It's pretty neat to see, and he's got a good level head on his shoulders about it all too, though, at the same time. So
who is older, you or him?
I am. By 16 months, I'm older than him, but he's my bigger, younger brother.
Yes. That's interesting, though, because Pittsburgh is not that close to Philly, but people might think it is, but it's not that close. So that was quite a ways of a drive for him.
Yeah, that is a great misconception. If you're not familiar with Pennsylvania, everybody thinks like, oh, okay, Pittsburgh, Philly, they can't be that far off. But it's like if you're going at a steady rate, you could probably make it in about 5 hours, but it's usually like a 6-hour trip if you're a safe driver. And because it's across the state. And so
literally on the other side.
One of the other security guards that was with him on that segment, Carter Taylor, he rode with Marcus. And so the funny thing is, I actually knew Carter before Marcus did, because he drove me and Rob Van Dam around when Rob came into Pittsburgh the one time when he was still training. So it's kind of neat to see these connections and worlds collide, so to speak. So yeah, it's pretty neat. And Philly's obviously a great wrestling city. So it was neat to see him in that kind of environment and get that opportunity for sure.
So what is it like working with RVD, and how did the genesis of the pod, how did that all start?
Sure. So Marcus, obviously, he does a lot of other podcasting and stuff too. At the time, he was doing the podcast, The Snake Pit with Jake the Snake, and then he ended up getting another opportunity to do a podcast with Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, through Jake. Jake suggested Marcus, and Jake put Ted DiBiase on the phone, and they formed a relationship and started a podcast. And I kept thinking in my head, geez, I would like to do something like that. I was like, I wonder who I could kind of get to maybe, or just try out, or see if I could get a wrestler to do a podcast with me. And I was kind of going through my Rolodex of interviews I did in the past for WrestleZone. And like, I would once in a great while randomly text Rob Van Dam, like if I was in Las Vegas and needed suggestions of where to go or what to do or something like that. And he didn't know me from Sunday. Like I literally interviewed him for like 20 minutes for WrestleZone over a phone. So he didn't know who the hell I was. So it was just getting random texts. And so I was like, what if I made the pitch to Rob? And I'm sure, and I was thinking in my head, I'm sure he gets a lot of pitches to do podcasts all the time.
Yes.
And so I was like, but how can I kind of pitch it to him to get a lot of the responsibility off his plate and make it something that's more tailored to him than tailored to, maybe your ardent wrestling fan. So I was like, hey, Rob, I know you don't know me, but would love to, and I know you get this a lot, but would love to start a podcast with you. Keep it 45 minutes. Doesn't necessarily have to be wrestling focused. We can talk about wrestling, but but we can cover whatever you want, just your life, whatever's going on and everything like that. And he was willing to listen to it. So we had a phone conversation. I made the pitch to him, and we started doing it in May of 2023. So it's been going on for, coming up on what would it be? 3 years. Holy smokes, 3 years now. So that's kind of how it went. And Rob's a really cool dude. And it's neat to get his different perspective. It like thinking not even just from a wrestling perspective, but a life perspective. He lets you take a step back from what you're constantly thinking, maybe that you're used to thinking, and thinking about things in a different way. And so I really appreciate my time with him. I get to spend once a week, and it's a good time. It's a real good time.
I think one thing is so fascinating about him, he doesn't really like music. I always found that to be very fascinating. How is that even possible?
Well, so he explained it to me that, he's not a fan of music, and he thinks, he kind of takes it as like you get put into a state of mind that takes you out of almost reality in a certain way. It because it elevates your mood, or it can get your mood down. And he associated it because I think during a certain time, there was a lot of the 80s rock when he was growing up as a kid, and certain things like that, like Kiss, and then maybe associating it with satanic, Knights in Satan service and all that kind of misnomers about the older classic rock. And he thinks that was kind of in the back of his head, and he never really got tuned into music, pun not intended. But his wife, Katie, really loves music a lot. So, and the funny thing is a fan actually made a intro theme for our podcast, and it's really good. And he really likes that song a lot. So he's got a couple of exceptions, but yes, I was pretty fascinated to learn that he was not a music fan either.
And not a big fan of Walk either, which is an awesome Pantera theme song. He doesn't seem to be, but he doesn't seem to be into it. Great, which is crazy.
I think he appreciates it. He's never really knocked that on the show at all. So I think he holds a special place for that one. And we actually, funny enough, last night we talked about One of a Kind, the Breaking Point song that he had.
Love that one too.
And he likes that one. So he's got a couple of them. He's got a couple, but not a lot.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. Usually people have a litany of music that they love, and he's just not into it. He's not digging it.
Not his type of thing. Yeah, he's more so of checking things out and doing things on his own accord, so to speak.
So what is going on with EC3 and Exodus Pro? Tell us what's going on with EC3.
Yeah, so it's pretty neat. Him and Marcus formed. I interviewed EC3 a couple of times before Marcus connected with him, but Marcus ended up I don't know how they became friends and associated with one another, but Marcus and him formed a relationship, and Marcus started making the trips over to Cleveland to kind of work with EC3, do a little I think some training seminars and maybe a little bit of promo work or something like that. And they started forming a connection, and Marcus made note to EC3 that I had this channel that was Studio One Sports, and I was rebranding it and relaunching it and everything, and it has a good subscriber following and everything. And so they got on, like, Marcus made the pitch to him to, hey, why don't we air your pay-per-views, Exodus Pro Wrestling, on the show, on the channel? And he was up for it. So, like, we just had that past one, New Game Plus, here at the end of January, I believe, and it went really well. We had over 3,000 people tuning in, and I was super, super happy with it because I was curious how it was going to turn out, because Studio One Sports used to be Kurt Angle's old channel for YouTube. So, and then, like I said, we turned it into One True Sport. We had some legality information issues with the name, so we had to make the change. And then ultimately, I just merged it with Brass Ring Media with Zach Hadorn, who's I love and it's great to work with. But like I said, he's moved on with his own brand there, and so I was like curious, man, how do I get people roped in? Because people are still check out the Kurt Angle clips. I can see it on my YouTube studio stuff. Like, they're still a big part of it, and I'm like, how can I keep people motivated and still try to make this something special where it's just like live streaming wrestling? As like, that makes a lot of sense, and I would love to get more live streaming wrestling on there, but I'm literally trying to do live content where you just literally have fans tune in, like a lot of the channels are doing. I'm also trying to think of how to make that different than what other people do. So it's just like, I try to pick one topic and then just stick on it, and then try to get fan interaction. And it's a hustle. And like, as you guys know, I'm sure too, it's just like, this isn't always a changing landscape where it's just like, how do you adapt and how do you assimilate to what's been going on? Because the market's oversaturated, and not just in pro wrestling, but across the board in any kind of content creation. So it's an interesting hustle. But yeah, the relationship with EC3 has been great so far. I'm really intrigued to see how it goes, and how we can grow together with it. So it's a neat opportunity. The next one's at the end of March here coming up, and so I'm excited to have that one stream on the channel as well.
Let me hand it over to Lavie. I know he's got a lot of questions for you.
Yeah, awesome. So the EC3 and promotion announcement really got me moving to reach out again. Shockingly, you were on 4 years ago, episode 90, which is amazing, because it seems like it was, when you said like the RBD podcast was 3 years ago, I was like, that felt like that was yesterday. Yeah. And this just felt like a little while ago. So it might have broken the record for the longest gap between guest appearances. So,
how about that? Wow.
Yeah.
I thought it was 2 years ago, Lavie. Honestly, I thought it was like,
I know, right? Because we're interacting over socials all the time. But at that time, so like because I find like your career and like your positive energy, like it's really inspiring. And like, as you continue to work your way up in the wrestling business and whatever your goals may be. And at that time, if I remember correctly, you were very active as a writer of wrestling, like producing a prodigious amount of articles, like multiple a day. I think it was Wrestling Inc. at that time. I think you were also associated with MLW in terms of the social, possibly some of the Conrad stuff, definitely other things. And you were also working full time in, I think, like a grocery unit or, in a supermarket as well. So taking all that, in a couple minutes, just bring us up to speed of like from there to now, and like, how are things going?
Well, sure. Yeah. So it's been quite a roller coaster, the ups and downs when it comes to it all, because I was working full time at Whole Foods at the time. I worked at WrestleZone. I worked with ad-free shows, and I was getting a lot of interviews. And like you were saying too, I was constantly writing. WrestleZone, my workload was like boom, article, and then Wrestling Inc. I got an opportunity at the time. Nick Hausman was the editor there, and he's who brought me on originally at WrestleZone. And so this was like a full-time opportunity to go and write for Wrestling Inc. And I left Whole Foods. I was like, all right, this is my gig right now. And it was great. But it was also a lot of the online wrestling writing aspect of things really, really shifted. And they had certain aspects where you'd have to follow a certain protocol. And the same thing was with WrestleZone to an extent. but it really got heavy-handed and very micromanaged there at a certain point. And it took away a lot of the element that really intrigued me and made me enjoy the aspect of writing. And, for better or for worse, I find myself to be a very creative-minded, oriented person, more so than sometimes what's financially beneficial for me at certain moments. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna move on, and I'm gonna try to find something different. And I was fortunate enough with former relationship with Kenny McIntosh, who at the time owned Inside the Ropes. And so I leapt over to Inside the Ropes. The pay was a little bit less, but it was still decent enough for me to make a living. And so I went and did that for a couple months. Unfortunately, that website, their pay structure changed, and I was let go at the time. And so I did not want to double back and go back to Whole Foods at that moment in time. And so I jumped to SE Scoops, and I wrote for SE Scoops for quite a while. And Mike's a great person. Mike Shalleck's a great person too, and a really, really, really nice person. And I wrote for well over a year, I think, with him. And but then that pay structure changed as well. And so fortunately, I was still doing freelance work for social media, like Click This and other aspects. So I did have some income coming in, but certainly was not enough. And I did have to bite the bullet. And like, even right now, I'm back part-time at Whole Foods. I work a couple days a week there. But for the majority of the aspect, I still am in the wrestling social media content creation world, and still making a living off it and trying to make it work, as tough as it can be. But I still find it super rewarding. And I find it, I constantly have that itch to be like, yeah, I could go get a 9-to-5 job if I really wanted to, and accept that and do something to that. But ultimately, like, I believe in myself, and I believe in the ability to kind of do something different, but make it your own at the same time, and make it something special. And at some point you keep at it, and it will hit for you. You just gotta be willing to kind of suffer the slings and arrows that it all comes with. And so yeah, it's a fascinating, frustrating, but rewarding kind of thing to be in at the moment in time. And but I enjoy it, and I think I believe in myself, and I believe the aspect of it all will kind of pay off in the grand scheme of it all.
Awesome. And as you mentioned, different touch points, I'm like, oh yeah, SE Scoops, like it all kind of like got pushed to the back, but I remember noting all of them, and it's awesome to see. And like, for myself, like the first time somebody paid me to write an article, you're like, well, actually, let me take a step back. The first time somebody allows you to give them an article for free, you're like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, you're like, can I get paid? And then the first time someone pays you very little, you're like, that's awesome. But then, like, it's at each point of like growth as you go.
Yeah, little by little, you make the baby steps, and it's like, oh, I achieved this. I got here. And then you get to a point, and it's like, all right, how can I make a living off of this and make this consistent? And it's tough to do in today's world.
No, but it's awesome to see all you're putting into it. So with your I would assume the main platform right now is the Studio One. Mm-hmm. So like, what are your goals for it? Like, what do you want it to be like in a year and then 3 years?
Gosh, I would love it to be. I know it's like, Fightful is such a prominent channel and website, and they constantly have like a lot of things going on. And I really admire somebody like a Denise Salcedo, who it's so funny because 2 years ago I was at Royal Rumble in Tampa, and like she sat beside me, like we were up in the press box, and like I'm doing a little bit of coverage and trying to do like live tweeting and live social media content, but I'm keeping my eyes on her too at the same time. And she is constantly just doing everything. Liz, hammering home clips, posting them immediately, getting a lot of content on there. And like I was so like enthralled by like the constant amount of work ethic that she had, in the how steady she was at it. And like you see it today, like it is paying off for her in several channels that she does, and the work that she puts in. And I mean, to be a woman in this landscape, and like kind of, navigating those waters, that can be really, really difficult for somebody like that, like, in that realm with wrestling fans, or, any kind of fans in a lot of ways. I find that extremely impressive. And so, like, I would love to at some point kind of find myself in that kind of realm where I'm like making content that is a variety, but still at the same time too, I love the aspect of writing. And I was like a journalism major in college. So there's a lot of things that I appreciate when it comes to the writing aspect and component of that. And so I'd love to bring that a lot into, Studio One Sports, making it kind of like a catch-all for, some fun stuff, but at the same time too, you go there for respected content that you can rely on, and not that I report or break a lot of news, because I really don't find that to necessarily be that rewarding, and like trying to get like the dirt or behind the scenes or anything like that. Other people can do it, but I think a discussion and analysis in a professional manner, or if I do interviews, like to do that, I would love to kind of incorporate more interviews and have, because that's something I did miss. I did a lot of interviews at WrestleZone, and once I left WrestleZone, I didn't do as much as that. And so I'd love to get back into that realm too. So looking to do more interviews on the channel, looking to have the live streaming aspect of, wrestling and all that kind of stuff, live discussions. And then on top of it too, like I would love to just, I've been wanting to do, and I used to do it for a little bit at WrestleZone, was a show called The Hot Tag, which was around the horn, but with pro wrestling journalists instead, or pro wrestling personalities. And so I'd love to bring that back on the channel too. It's just a matter of lining up, people for the right time and having the right topics. Because there were some really fruitful topics that we had going on that when I did about 4 or 5 of them for WrestleZone. So I'd love to bring something like that back. So that's kind of where I see myself, where I'd love to have that channel be like kind of be a catch-all, and a unique catch-all that is unique in a very oversaturated market, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's sort of like, I think, personality based also. Like, as people get to know you and your passionate work, like, and engage in one way, then they can find other ways. I think with like distribution, and that's really one of the most interesting things with EC3. Like, we're at a unique time and a challenging time for pro wrestling. Like, of course, as you've seen with Fight, we've heard the different or Triller, the different payment challenges there, and the question of being behind a paywall. With IWTV, for some it's the perfect model. For others, they've complained about the payouts. Some people are trying to do their own YouTube. So I know you're gonna take this one step at a time and carefully, as opposed to volume. But from what I understand, a number of promoters are listeners to our show. So if somebody wanted to engage in a conversation with you about distribution through your platform, what's the pitch? Why should they explore that?
Well, listen, yeah, I think a good pitch for it is we have a huge subscriber count, like over 72,000 people subscribe to the channel. So it is a chance to have a good audience that's immediate. As far as things go, I'm always open to negotiate how revenue share could be, when it comes to the channel. If you believe in your product and you think it's good and like it's quality stuff, I'm more than willing to like give the benefit of the doubt to the person wanting to stream their content on here. So I'm open for discussion on that. As far as everything else goes, I part of my skill set is social media work. So if it's kind of like scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of aspect, where it's like, I'll be more than happy to promote your product on my social media channels that, has a pretty broad reach in a lot of ways. And so it's a good relationship kind of thing, where it's just, how can we coexist? How can we collaborate? Because yes, making the money aspect of it is very difficult, and it's frustrating for payouts and everything like that. Like, and it's difficult to capture that audience now, where everything is attainable to anybody. Like, I could go watch HBO Max right now and it doesn't have to be AEW, but that could capture my attention. So how are you gonna whittle in and channel in and hone in on something? So I do think, I offer a big platform, an opportunity for a lot of promotions that maybe do want to get involved try a different route just to get some eyes on their product. And, it's a balance. It's a wild kind of dance that everybody's doing right now. And we're all trying to find our positions. So I don't know if that's a great pitch, but that's my pitch.
Hey, it sounds good. And from talking about worldwide distribution to local, it wasn't too many episodes ago that we had Trapper Tom on the podcast. We were trying to get him. Well, it was me. I was saying maybe you could cut a promo on Dominic, but he was very very professional. He wasn't looking to go that route, but he said he has enjoyed meeting you and interacting with you on the scene.
You know what? It's so funny because before I got into the wrestling journalism world, quote unquote, I mean, I did do a couple articles for PW Torch and Wade Keller way back when, but I was not in that realm. I was just a fan. All my buddies, we would go to KSWA in Pittsburgh here. They were in Lawrenceville at the Teamster Temple. And this is such a funny story, but Trapper Tom was there, and he was good. Yeah, he was the announcer guy. I was like, that guy's got a really good voice for an announcer. And I did not know Trapper from anybody. I didn't know anybody, but like it was a fan fest. And fan fest, they had Ricky the Dragon Steamboat there. They had Bill Apter there, and Shane Douglas was there as well. There was also Jello shots and a lot of PBRs, and I had a lot of them. And I got blackout drunk. I do remember a lot of stuff. I got my picture with Ricky Steamboat. And I do remember annoying Bill Apter at the time, but KSWA was a blast back then. And that was like 10 years ago. And so, yeah, it's a shame. They just ended. I'm sure that's kind of probably why you had them on, right?
Yeah.
Was because they just ended the company. And what a fun promotion that was. Some really neat venues that they played at, too, here in the Pittsburgh area. So it's a shame that they're gone. But there's a lot of good wrestling still going on here in the Pittsburgh area for sure. So, and I'm a part of IWC, International Wrestling Cartel, with Marcus as well. I do color commentary for them. So it scratches the itch a little bit too, even though I can't get blackout drunk while I'm calling matches.
Yeah, I never heard of that possibility at a local wrestling show. I guess it depends on the venue. So actually, it leads us into my final question before I turn over to John. Yeah, tell us about the Pittsburgh scene. We know independent wrestling could be challenging right now. What's going well, and promote everything related to the scene.
Absolutely. So, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff happening. Enjoy is a really fascinating wrestling promotion. They usually play in the South Side area, I believe, of Pittsburgh, but they do some intriguing cards. As far as like IWC is still running at a really, really great clip here. We're having our show coming up here February 21st is IWC Reloaded. And it's a lot more of like almost like a Cyber Sunday in certain ways, where you don't know who's going to be in matches, except like the one opponent, and the certain titles are on the line. So there's the reset button that's at stake. But yeah, so I'll be on the call for that. There's a WWE legend coming up who I don't even know who it is yet. I legitimately don't know who's coming on. So my brother Marcus will be in action as well. But it's it's a very fun promotion. It's neat to see because like their IWC was where like AJ Styles wrestled. I believe it was CM Punk actually. What they mentioned on Raw, that's where those two wrestled. And so it's neat to kind of be a part of that in the Pittsburgh scene. And obviously Corey Graves came from out of there too, as Keaton Sterling. And there's a lot of different names that shown up there. So it's a fun area to be a part of. Pittsburgh is certainly not as like diverse maybe in regards to like maybe a Chicago or anything to that, or how the Texas wrestling scene seems really, really popular too right now. But Pittsburgh's definitely up there, and IWC is certainly one of them as well. So, and yeah, it's quite a cool learning experience, and there's such a great immense amount of talent too that is behind the scenes and in the ring as well. So, and it's impressive. I'm very impressed by working with this promotion for what's been over a year now.
A name that always stood out to me from the Aftermaths was T. Ranchula, and he would be
T.
on
Ranchula. You know what? I was a huge fan of T. Ranchula. Like when I first moved to Pittsburgh, KSWA, he was like their big guy that came out, and he came out like in the biker vest, and like he's a huge presence, and it was just like he was all charisma. Like it was just like he was this badass biker guy that would just beat the crap out of the guy in the ring. That's all you really needed. And it was so funny because he started doing my buddy Lee at the time, he had nachos with him, and he handed, I think he gave Tarantula the nachos, and Tarantula smashed his opponent with the nachos, and my buddy Lee started chanting Nacho City because the Suplex City was hot at the time. And so Nacho City caught on with all the crowd, and it became part of Tarantula's act. And moving forward was Nacho City. So I'm a huge fan of Tarantula. Yeah. And it's crazy too to look back, because he would wrestle in ECW and WCW, and he would wrestle Mick Foley and all that kind of stuff. So I think he's like a mayor of Munhall or something right now. I don't know, but
you sound like a fun guy to go to a show with, more than I imagined. So maybe
I have a good time. I can't really do that too often when I'm going to like WWE events or AEW events.
Your credentials taken away.
Yeah, I got to keep more of a professional decorum when I'm there, and that's something I really do take a lot of pride in. From, and I've kind of loosened my tie on certain things when it comes to that, because I grew up in that, was taught, how to be a professional when you're covering something or you're doing something. Like, you don't wear, if you're going to a Steeler game and your Steelers, beat writer, you're not wearing a Steelers jersey. And I do see that a lot at wrestling shows. A lot of fans are wearing, or writers or journalists, whatever you want to call, wearing wrestling shirts, or, kind of cheering when they're not supposed to be cheering, or, and then you get the dumb questions sometimes at the scrums. And I'm just like, what the F? Like, come on, let's have a little bit of something. But at the same time too, I kind of realize, the landscape's changing, and content creators are more in this aspect, and you can't really expect this coming from a pro wrestling realm a lot of the time. So it's a little bit of an adjustment, and I'm trying to find the in-between of it all at this time, kind of accepting, yeah, I can keep a certain way of how I handle things, but I can also understand why other people do it a different way too. So it's a tightrope walk a little bit, Lavie, I think.
So what is next for you, and where could everybody find you as far as seeing what's next for you?
Sure. Yes. Studio1Sports.com. Actually, after I'm done recording with you guys, I'm going to go live at 10 p.m. on Studio1Sports.com, as this was being recorded on, what is today? Tuesday. And so I'm going live to discuss the CM Punk and Roman Reigns situation and what I think about it and why it's a WrestleMania money match. And so that's where you can find me there. Go to rvdtv.com and you can check out my show with Rob Van Dam. A lot of good clips on there. I created a new Grand Theft Auto Vice City aesthetic for the whole brand of it all. So I kind of changed up the brand and try to make it neat and creative in that way. So you guys can go and check that out at rvdtv.com. Also, go to Rumor and Innuendo. Type in Podcast Heat Wrestling on YouTube and subscribe to that channel. And me and Robert Karplos, a former WWE writer, he's known as WWE Creative_ish on X. So we do a daily wrestling show Monday through Friday at noon, every noon Eastern Standard Time. So that's where you can find me at. And IWC Reloaded. I'll be on color commentary there with probably Nick Lindell, my nemesis right now. Hope I can get along with him okay enough. But that'll be February 21st. You can catch that, I believe, on Fight still, and then IWCnetwork.com too. So check that out. And I think that's all I can really plug. I got a lot of stuff going on, but that's the main stuff.
Nice. Awesome. Dominic, so great to get you back on. Appreciate it all the time tonight.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, 4 years. Can't believe it. Holy smokes. Let's make it shorter next time. Like,
yeah, come on.
In between.
Definitely,
How about
definitely.
it? Yes. I want to be, yes.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Dominic.
Thank you, Dominic.
We'll have to pick it back up. We'll go for Brett Lauderdale's record and keep going from there.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you, Dominic.
Bye.
Thank you.
Lavie, let's talk a little bit about the news here. What is going on with GCW, and what is going on with my longtime close personal friend, the Sandman?
Yeah, so spring break, right? The collective, there's always got to be a hook. And last year was Sabu's retirement at spring break, and kind of obviously a lot of attention. Unfortunately, very tragically, he passed away not too long after, and it sort of got tied into it. And there were some rumors of what went on and in what condition he was to perform and so on. So a little bit challenging, I would say, John, to come back a year later with another ECW wrestler's retirement. But obviously, we hope all goes well, and why shouldn't it? The Sandman, he's not completely retired, but he hasn't been wrestling much in a while. So this is his last match, and it popped the tickets. I mean, they were already doing quite well, but they sold out their 7th row based on this, and there's just a general admission available. And somebody that's been getting a lot of attention, the second coming of Hayabusa 2. And what's pretty awesome to see is how much he's been accepted in Japan and really worldwide, like sort of like for embodying the spirit of the great Hayabusa. So, John, how much does all this intrigue you, and did it increase your interest in the spring break show?
Yes, and I do like Hayabusa too. And I don't know if people are aware of this, but that always happens in Japan. You get a million, 6 different tiger masks like that. The new Black Tiger. I mean, you always get that, and it's not a ripoff. It's like an honor. It's like you're passing the tradition on. So the Hayabusa 2, and I saw some people online going, "He's been dead for years." That's why it's called Hayabusa 2. He's not the original Hayabusa, obviously. And then the guy's like, "Okay, I'm gonna have to delete this." And I went back and checked, and the guy did delete a stupid post. So I'm glad to see that. But I like the Sandman thing. That's kind of cool that he's doing his last match with them. Albeit, I know you're talking about the Sabu thing, but I am more interested now for sure.
Yeah, and once they get past this one, then you could keep that brand going. It was just obviously a challenging start, but then people had questions. If they're coming to the ECW arena, why not save it for that? But I think it's just a really smart move overall. May 2nd. I had the quote, or actually I had the coverage from 4 years ago when we interviewed Brett for one of the first times about him running ECW arena at that time. So Lauderdale was clear that it's not due to an oversaturated wrestling market in the area. He doesn't feel an urgency to go to Philadelphia, as it was being served by Atlantic City and New York, and he could schedule a show in Philadelphia fairly easy if the market warranted. He felt that 2300 Arena wouldn't be overly special at this time. So, they came up with this, or they're using a great brand name, One Night Only, but and I think this will work here, but they just did a One Night Only in Berwyn. So how many times, John, can you do One Night Only?
Yeah, that is true. You kind of run out after a while if you keep doing the One Night Only. But that is kind of just, maybe a long time coming that they're doing the arena.
Yeah, I think this casino on the outskirts of Philadelphia, officially a different city, I think, but basically Philadelphia. No one makes a distinction, according to Brett. It didn't seem like it was ever much of more than a few rows sold. And here you have ECW Arena. And whenever people argue, ECW is, to many, like the embodiment, in a way, of ECW. So I think you'll definitely get the attention here. The challenge is that, in looking at GCW's advanced ticket sales and recent sales, at least as far as we can surmise from Eventbrite and so on, they're pretty slow, and they keep needing special events. So you'll have the collective, well, maybe not next year because of Saudi Arabia, but you'll have that if you do something special. Then you have this brand now, One Night Only, but it's challenging. I think they need something where it's more consistent draws, and that's easier said than done. But a couple of markets they have coming up that are struggling more than they have been, because they've been some of their best markets, is Los Angeles, and Rochester, New York. Upstate, both of those. Los Angeles are much longer, but Rochester, in terms of the shows that they've run, have been very solid, and they look pretty slow right now. So just looking at the dates on the map, so they have the Jersey J Cup coming up with JCW in LA on February 14th, Mesa, Arizona on the 15th, Louisville, Kentucky on March 6th. So that's blood-centric show. March 7th and 8th in Columbus and Chicago. Back to Atlantic City. It's been a while since they've done a double shot there. March 14th and 15th. And then the Collective. And then what's announced after that thus far is the one night only, of course, at the 2300 Arena.
What is Adrenaline Plus Sunday Night Slam? What is this? What is going on here?
So Adrenaline Plus is a upstart, fast channel. And they're actually taking a unique approach because they have, I'm not sure if they're the same owners or just they have a really good relationship with them. They work with Thunder Studios. And if you go to Adrenaline Plus's website, like they'll be like, we're having a Muay Thai live special, we're having a boxing special, whatever it may be, kickboxing, whatever. So they're working with Dave Marquez and United Wrestling Network to have a monthly wrestling special called Sunday Night Slam. So I think of anything for the fast channels rather than, older content that everyone seems to have or like very small independents, depending on the talent that they book. And we know it'll be a professional production. It seems like a smart way to get attention, for everybody. And, things are always moving around in terms of platforms. So that is Sunday Night Slam. So looking forward to additional information about that when it comes out.
Now, you wanted to talk about Texas, of all places. What the heck is going on in Texas? Yeah,
so a really interesting article by Jamie Lozano Carver for the Texas Tribune called Texas's Long Love Affair with Wrestling Could Be Getting Serious. So just some snippets here. Texas wrestling fans are known worldwide for being some of the loudest, proudest wrestling fans in the entire world, said Tony Khan. From the prairies of the Texas Panhandle down to the Rio Grande Valley, wrestling has a storied legacy here that goes back a century. In 1933, the legislature made the promotion and conducting of combat and wrestling matches legal. What followed was the creation of wrestling history, particularly in West Texas, as Western State Sports, also known as Amarillo Wrestling, promoted events across the region. And just like other sports, Texas fans have shown an appetite for the mayhem that wrestling brings. Last summer, AEW hosted All in Texas, which proved to be the promotion's most attended show in North America, with 2.5 million tickets sold. The Wrestling Observer had 725,000 in merchandise sold, the most for a non-WWE show in U.S. history. As the sport prospers in Texas, which is known for courting profitable industries, investments from the state could be the next step for the industry's growth. In 2025, the legislature invested $1.5 billion in the film industry. Could the state make a similar investment in wrestling and its untapped potential? Last year, the state had a hand in providing funds to put AEW All in Texas. According to WrestleNomics, Arlington applied for state funding for the event, which qualified for public reimbursement dollars through the Texas Event Trust Fund program. This program assists communities with paying costs to prepare and conduct an event by depositing projected gains in local and state taxes generated from the event to a specific trust fund to cover qualified expenses. Around $1 million was approved, though Arlington City Manager Trey Yelverton confirmed to the outlet that the amount AEW would receive would be reduced. Along with the entertainment revenue, then they referred to a special ceremony for Eddie Guerrero and so on. So really a nice, deep article that we suggest you check out.
What about Boca Raton Championship Wrestling? I don't know if we've ever talked about BRCW on the show before, have we?
Yeah, John, it's kind of a unique thing. Have you seen any of the clips of what they do down there?
Oh, yeah. I've seen a bunch.
Yeah. The first time I came across was like Brutus Beefcake, and it was just like, it was pretty funny and entertaining. So Jason Phillips contributed this article actually from USA Today. I'm a real estate broker. I have about 20 agents under me. He said, matter of factly, describing his role at his signature real estate finder, division of Real Estate International. I started off representing buyers and sellers, but I like to teach and I like the action of people. Maxler's ambitions extend beyond real estate. During the pandemic, when so much life was on pause, he found a novel way to give back to his community, wrestling. I miss going to shows, and I'd become friends with some of the wrestlers. After they were released, I wanted to create a platform to showcase them, something family-friendly and fun. The result was Boca Wrestling, an independent league, launched with Championship Wrestling, CCW. Designed as a clean, upscale alternative to the gritty warehouse-style wrestling typical of smaller circuits, Boca stages events in proper theaters and ballrooms. I wanted to make it child-friendly. Independent wrestling could get a little grimy or bloody. I wanted something that parents could also feel good about. The reception has been overwhelmingly positive. People say, I can't believe that there's wrestling in Boca. And then they bring their children and tell me that it's the best day ever. Each event doubles as a fundraiser. The airport supporting various funds. If Boca sounds like an unusual passion project for real estate broker, Maxler is quick to explain the overlap. It's about brand awareness. I love Boca. I wanted to create something unique that brings people together. Maxler, what keeps him anchored to Boca, and his answer is personal. It's a great place to raise a family. So another interesting article about a unique wrestling scene.
Intriguing, to say the least. Now, finally, your favorite topic of all time, here and there.
So just a couple of things, and we don't often see NXT in the here and there, but just wanted to circle back, close the loop as best we can with NXT Live when they're at the Boutwell Auditorium, according to WrestleTix. This might be the latest in the podcast I mentioned WrestleTix. I was under 1,968, and Mass Mania, of course, our friend Kevin Kleinrock, they ran into a little bit of trouble the week before with the weather. So this was the kickoff of their recent season, or however it be termed, and they broke 1,028 at in Loveland, Colorado. So something to watch as they continue to roll out shows. What's the attendance look like, and what's the reception?
Very intriguing show this week, Lavie. We had Dominic, who was great. We got to have him back on. You got to go to BRCW. There's no doubt about that. And maybe even go to Philly for the one night only GCW show. So just to keep your eye on that.
Yeah, I've been, the closest I've been, John, was there was a UFC headlined by Anderson Silva.
Oh, wow.
And I stayed at a friend's house, and it was still the Sabbath. So I could not take public transportation. So I took my life into my own hands if I went the wrong way. But actually, everything turned out fine, and I walked through very pleasant neighborhoods. I walked my way from, I don't remember where they were, and I passed the corner of Rittner and
Swanson. Swanson, Rittner, yep.
So I was like, oh my gosh, is this it? And I turned and I was like, oh my God, right? Because it's not too far, right, from the arena and everything like that. So that's literally the closest physically I've been, but I've never been in the building.
Oh my God, I was there recently. Are you crazy? What are you doing? I was there for AEW over the summer, actually, to speak of the devil. But I got to get back there. I like to get there at least once a year. Maybe even a couple times. When MLW ran there all the time, I went a couple times in a row. I went to TNA there. I've been there, man. I've been to everything there. Jeez. So, ROH, CZW.
Okay, so CCW is pre-revamp. So when was that the earliest you were there?
Yeah. I never went for ECW. I probably should have. I don't know why I never did, but I think it was 02 or 03. CCW was the first time. Oh no, actually, it might have been 3PW there first. I'm trying to remember which was first, but it was basically, I want to say 02. It was either CCW or 3PW. And man, I got a tour of the back. Holy crap, what a shithole! Just Incredible took me around. Whew, man, they just, whatever ECW did, when CZW went in there and became like their home, they just absolutely destroyed that building. Did see Zandig walking around in a towel. I don't know where there was a shower or whatever was going on, but he's walking around in a towel. So it was a real interesting experience.
Oh my gosh. So were you at any of the original ECW shows anywhere?
No, shockingly, no. The closest one, I was in, I want to say somewhere near Matawan, New Jersey, and it was like a indie show, so to speak. The whole show is the ECW guys. Like almost every guy in the show was ECW. So it was weird. It was almost like, is this an ECW show or is this an indie show where they just bring in all the ECW talent? So theoretically, it's just an indie show. They brought in every guy was pretty much from ECW.
Yeah, I remember like on TV sometimes it would be like they didn't do it often, but it would kind of be weird like that they would sort of promote a show.
Yeah.
And it was like quasi ECW, but like it seemed like they were, I don't know if that was like when they had actual good relationships with Carluso or it's like a different promoter, but like it felt like that. And then also New Jersey, like when they'd have those like what they Bar A or Bar B, like by the
Bar A, yeah.
by the beach. And I think they even showed like I don't know if it was a full taping from there, but I definitely feel like I saw some footage from there. Some of the most unique venues. For me, like I didn't go till almost the end, right? So it was, the first show I went to was a TNN taping at the Westchester County Center.
Wow, okay.
And it was sold out, included, of course, some like awesome Masato Tanaka, RVD, Jerry Lynn. So like it was just amazing. And then I was at the last two pay-per-views, of course, at the Hammerstein Ballroom. But I've reflected back on it. I'm not sure if it was ECW, but I feel like it might have been that ECW ran once in Yonkers, sort of like the pavilion part of Yonkers Raceway before it became like a fancy casino, Empire Casino. And the only thing I knew was King Kong Bundy was going to be on the card, and my father just didn't want to go. And I was too young to go myself, but I just can imagine, like, I going with my dad, like thinking it's like a regular indie show. It was like a crazy ECW show, so maybe it was better I didn't go.
And good call. Yeah,
I was kind of a more sheltered kid. I didn't take the subway a lot or whatever, so like I knew that they were running like Lost Battalion Hall, like even before they'd run the Elks Lodge. But like to me, like getting on the subway from the Bronx through Manhattan into Queens, like it was like a whole nother world.
Yeah, that sounds like a hell of a trip. Too much of a hell of a trip.
Like, I mean, when I was older, like in college, I would actually go like to Atlantic City, like on the overnight bus, and like go to boxing or whatever. But like at the, like when somebody like isn't watching what you're doing as much anymore, you start doing whatever. But like a few years earlier, it like seemed like impossible.
Interesting. And what a wild ride it must have been just going ECW in general at that point, crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, like definitely not like because you're in professional venues, so there's actual security or whatever it may be. But like it was definitely crazier than regular wrestling show. And I did go to cap it off back to the Westchester County Center for the ECW revival under WWE. And the main event was the Big Show against Sabu. And I don't know if it was officially a tables match, but he put him through tables. But it was like a little, I think it was even sold out. It did very well. It was one of the few house shows that they did that did well. But it was like a little bit awkward because it was like more family oriented. But you had like some of the chants, like, and you could see the security guards like making faces like, what is this?
Yeah. They're not used to it. That's for sure. So let's wrap this bad boy up. Head towards the plugs. You follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. How about you, Lavie?
Follow me on X, Lavie Marg, LAVIE MARG. Check out our LinkedIn group, The Business of the Business. Go to my website, lioncubjobsearch.com, and get the book, Trump Mania, Vince McMahon, WWE, and the Making of America's President.
Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. Thank you to Dominic, our special guest today, Dominic DeAngelo. Thanks, everybody. We will see you right back here next week for a little business of the business. See you next week, folks.